What are closing costs? How much do you need? And is it additional to your down payment? All of these questions are valid when it comes to your closing costs. And this is why I've made this video today. I'm going to be going over what your closing costs are, what they are spread out to be for, and when you need them by. By the way, my name is Zamira Dunnet, and I'm a local real estate agent right here in the GTA, and I'm with eXp Realty. And if you have any questions about the home buying process or any questions about the GTA or where you should move, my contact information is right there in the description. I'm also going to put my number right here for you so you can reach out to me through text, call, whatever works best for you. And if you click below, you can also see that my calendar link is there. So you can book a 30-minute consult with me and we can have a quick chat about what you want to do in the future when it comes to any type of real estate or just in general. So go ahead and reach out to me. I can't wait to hear from you. So let's get into it. First off, what are closing costs? Closing costs are additional expenses that the homeowner needs to cover beyond the purchase price of the property. This cost arises close to the end of the actual closing of the property, hence why it's called closing costs. Now let's break down some of the closing costs that you may encounter when purchasing a home right here in Ontario. Number one is land transfer tax. This tax is levied by the provincial government and it depends on the purchase price of the property. There is a breakdown of how this is calculated that I'm going to add right here for you so that you can see exactly how to calculate the closing costs. But you actually don't need to do this math regularly because a lawyer will break it down for you so that you know exactly how much is included in the land transfer tax. Also, if you are a first-time home buyer, you have the advantage of getting a rebate for this land transfer tax for up to $4,000. So make sure you also try to get that rebate so you're not paying the full land transfer tax if you are a first-time home buyer. Number two is legal fees and disbursements. You have to hire a lawyer or a notary to go through the documents to get the title search completed and a bunch of other steps in the final process of the closing of your property. So you do have to pay lawyer fees and disbursements, which range between $1,800 to $2,500 that are added into your closing costs towards the lawyer. Number three, you can add this on the side because usually when you get the information from the lawyer of what your closing costs are or from your lender what your closing costs are, there is an additional if you have it in your agreement for an inspection. I always say to put an inspection in the conditions for a property. And if I am your agent, I will make sure that goes in there. But there is an upfront cost right when you do that inspection to the inspector between $400 to $500. So you can also add that into the closing costs when you're calculating this for yourself. Number four is appraisal fees. Now, some mortgage agents will cover the appraisal fee for you. This is not guaranteed, but there is an appraisal fee that you would also be paying that is included into the closing costs. The appraisal is when an appraiser goes to the property or does it online and checks to make sure that the property value that you are paying for this property is at market value. A lender is not going to give you a loan for $300,000 over the actual market value of a property just because you decided to put that much more on an offer. So working with a real estate agent, we make sure that you're putting an offer in close to market value so that you don't get appraised way over or way under the amount that you have put in as a purchase price for this property. But an appraiser checks to make sure that the amount that the lender is lending you is around market value for that property. And number five, this part of the closing cost is something you want to plan for later on because it's not actually going to be inside the closing cost, but it's something you want to remember. Everyone needs home insurance. If there's a fire in your house, you want to make sure that is protected. So you also need to budget to have a little bit of extra money every single month so that your home insurance is covered because you're going to have to pay that every single month in the future. Additionally, there are several other closing costs that could be included inside the closing costs. There are three additional that I'm about to break down for you. Title insurance. The title insurance covers the property's title. So if there are any liens or encumbrances or encroachments on the title, this covers you as the buyer. So these liens and encumbrances could be from the previous seller, so you need to protect yourself. For example, if they didn't pay their utility bills or their property tax, a lien can go on the title from those companies, and now that would move over to you. If it wasn't found during the title search, the title insurance would cover you the entire time you own that property. Number two is adjustments. So let's say you bought a property in March of 2024. Okay. That means that the seller has paid property tax for January, February, and March because of when the property taxes bills come in. So that is when adjustments do come in and take place inside the closing costs. Last but not least, number three is mortgage default insurance. Now, let's say you're putting 20% down. You do not need to worry about mortgage default insurance. But if you're putting less than 20% down, there is a premium, which is about 4% of the loan. So the mortgage that you are getting gets added on top of your mortgage because you are getting mortgage insurance. Now, that is not what this closing cost is. This is a PST insurance that is 8% of the 4%. Confusing, right? Let me break it down for you. So let's say you bought a condo at $500,000 and you put the minimum down payment, which is 5%. So that's $25,000. That means your mortgage is $475,000. That means 4% of that amount is $19,000. 8% of that $19,000 is $1,520. That is how much you're going to be paying for PST insurance. That is part of your closing costs before you actually get your mortgage. Hopefully that breaks it down and makes a little bit more sense. Now, like I said, closing cost is separate from your down payment. So let's use that same scenario. We're purchasing a condo at $500,000. Now, if it is in Toronto in downtown, land transfer tax is double. But as a first-time homebuyer, you still get that rebate back. And if you're buying in Toronto, it is double, which is nice to hear. But if you're breaking down how much you kind of should save when it comes to what your closing costs would be, if it is in Toronto, you want to be about the 4% of the purchase price. So that means you're saving about $20,000 for closing costs, additional to your $25,000 of your down payment for this property that we're buying at $500,000. Now, if you're buying in the outskirts of the GTA, so what does count as Toronto is Etobicoke, Scarborough, and downtown Toronto. But if you're buying in the outskirts, land transfer tax is only that number once. So you don't have to stress or try to save even more. You want to stay closer to about 2 to 3% of the purchase price. So that would be about $15,000 that you'd be saving for closing costs. So when you are speaking to a mortgage agent, you want to remember, okay, I'm going to buy a condo at $500,000. I need to save $25,000 for the down payment, but I also need the additional $20,000 or $15,000 for my closing costs. So you don't want to add that additional into the down payment because you still need that extra amount available for you for those closing costs. But the thing is, the lender wants to see proof of this money being available to you for 3 months. So let's say you're saving it, but you're going to build it with your income. That's not how it works. That money needs to be in the account available to you 3 months prior to the closing date of your property. So you need to make sure that that is available and there, and they're going to want to see proof of that time of it being in the account. One thing you want to do as well is you want to shop around. Now, what I mean by shopping around is not going from CIBC to RBC to BMO because they're going to pull your credit every single time. It's going to be such a headache for you to do. What you want to do is you want to go speak to a mortgage agent. I don't know if I mentioned to you, but my husband is a mortgage agent and his contact information is right there in the description as well. You can reach out to either of us at any time, but speaking to a mortgage agent, they have access to multiple lenders. They can see what is the best product for you when it comes to purchasing a property and making sure that all of this is transparent for you. They don't work for the banks. They get paid by the banks, but they work in your best interest. So you don't have to pay for their services, but they do everything they can to make sure you are in the best situation possible when it comes to purchasing a property for you. Hopefully this video has broken down exactly what you need when it comes to closing costs, what is included in closing costs, and why it is there. So many people overlook that they need the cash available. They only think about their down payment. And then when it comes to closing time, they're like, oh crap, I needed more money. Having knowledge about what you need to go through this process is super crucial. It is not always out there and available for you to know. And that's why I make a video like this every single week. And I make a market update every single month so that you are informed about what is needed through the home buying process or just what areas are the best to live in. If you like this information, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and click like to this video. And I can't wait to see you guys all next week. Thanks so much.